Owen Abbas Hussain here from Seconds Out, here with a trainer that's been around for a little while now. We know you've been training Sonny Edwards for a long time, and Dalton Smith, Charlie Edwards, none other than Grant Smith. Grant, first of all, how's life? We're in the bubble here in East London, Bethnal Green. How's life treating you?
Yeah, it's fine. It's just the same old in the little bubble down here. So getting used to it now, third time since lockdown. So bit used to it now. Bit boring, but we have to do these things, don't we?
How are you finding it? It's not a bad place I've actually given you. I'm looking around you, you've got a nice decent place here.
Yeah, it's bigger than most people's houses actually, this place, like his own apartment. We've got his own kitchen, bedroom, bathroom. They're quite big actually.
Let's talk about why you're here, why I'm here, is Charlie Edwards versus Kyle Williams. We know Charlie's been out for a long time. I think it's been over, it's going to be 13, 14 months. So it's been a long time. We know last time he fought at a different weight. He's gone up 2 weights to fight up at bantamweight this time around. Just talk to me about the decision. I spoke to Charlie yesterday. He told me why, but obviously you've been around him for a little while now. So just tell me about that decision.
What, to move weight?
To move weight.
Yeah. I think most people could say anyway he was struggling at that weight. He is quite a big lad. I think he's 5'7", 5'8". So and it's not as if he's like a little stick. So he were quite big, and it were hard work to get down. And he just grew out of the weight. It's just that last final pound, 2 pounds, it was just killing him to get it off. So obviously after that happened, decided right, now's the time to move up. So we've come away, this opportunity to come at bantamweight. They got in touch. Kyle Williams, very good fighter, is available bantamweight. So we said, yeah, as long as it's on the limit, because Charlie makes it comfortable bantamweight. And when he does box for hopefully go on to higher things and more world titles, he will be competing at super flyweight. Like I say, it was just that last couple of pounds to get off, 2 or 3 pounds. It was just so hard for him to get it off.
I was speaking to Charlie yesterday. Do you believe about bantamweight there's bigger names? Obviously with bigger names, bigger fights, bigger money. Do you feel like that's the case at bantamweight?
Yeah, there's big names at bantamweight and all that lot, obviously. There is some good fighters, but if you look at the super flyweight as well, Chocolito, all that lot, there's good names there as well. So there's money fights there as well. So it's not just a case of chasing the money. You've just got to do what suits the fighter and which he fits in better at.
I was talking to Kyle Williams yesterday. I asked him what he thought about Charlie and what he can do at this weight. He believes that Charlie doesn't punch that hard. He won't punch that hard at this weight. I know, in regards to Charlie's style, he's not known to be a heavy puncher. But do you believe going up a weight or two, it can have that effect and maybe, increase his power?
Yeah, like you said, that last pound or so can knock the edge off you anyway. But if anybody thinks Charlie can't punch, they've only got to look at a few certain fights. The Anthony Nelson fight, I think he hurt him 3 times. So he will get respect. Kyle will give him respect when Charlie lands. And he does it a lot harder, but the gloves he were wearing and stuff like that, I weren't too happy, and I made it quite clear for quite a few times with him and Sonny what they were wearing. And the sponsors now are Adidas. Okay. They have changed the gloves. Okay. So they've changed gloves now, so he will be using a different glove. I know it works both ways. Your opponents are going to be wearing them the same. But I think that will make a big difference. But Charlie does punch hard. You ask his sparring partners, everything. He's not a powder puff puncher.
Going into Charlie's last couple of fights, he was fighting for the WBC flyweight, putting that on the line again. Now you move up to bantamweight, first fight with Frank Warren, BT Sport. What do you believe that, what effect will that have on Charlie going forward now that he's actually been fighting for a WBC title? This time around, Kyle Williams, a lesser named opponent, he's fighting world-class opponents at that time. Do you believe that he's going to have the same motivation, the same hunger going into this fight?
Yeah, Charlie's always motivated. Kyle Williams is a good fighter, a very good fighter. You can't write Kyle Williams off. He's a very good fighter. Like I said, he's lost to Cash Farouk. He weren't knocked out cold. Yeah. He were hurt, but he stood up on his feet. Beluto was boxing on this card. He lost on a split decision to him. He boxed. don't he? He beat him. He's been in with his 2 losses are to very, very good fighters. So you can't just look at his record like that. We've got to give respect. So, and Charlie knows that. Charlie knows he's got to respect him. This isn't a easy fight or a knockout fight. This is a proper fight. So Charlie will be switched on. Charlie's always switched on, and he's always motivated. Charlie's always striving to be better. No matter what he does in life, Charlie's always striving. He's that type of person. And anybody that knows Charlie, he's always in gym. He's a real gym rat. He never gets out of condition. And he's striving to, like you say, he's just got engaged, due to get married, he's got a child, don't we? He's just bought a new house, he's having all work done on his house, and he's just seen different things in life now, and he's getting on with it, and that's just the drive for the rest of his life now.
I speak to Kyle yesterday. He was saying that Charlie believes that maybe Kyle hasn't fought with many world-class fighters or been sparring with world-class fighters. Kyle goes to me that since the start of his professional career, he's been sparring Kal Yafai. And that name sort of rings a bell. We know that Frank Warren put out that press release with all these names of Frank Warren versus Eddie Hearn's fighters. One of the fights was Charlie Edwards versus Kal Yafai. We know that Charlie's moving up to bantamweight. I spoke to Charlie about this yesterday. He wants to fight. Grant, with yourself, is that a fight that you guys want to pursue?
Yeah, we don't want to pursue it, but we'd love the fight. But I've told Charlie, don't go chasing that fight. Obviously, Cal's up at bantamweight. Cal's moved up to bantamweight. Now, I know Charlie's fighting here at bantamweight. We would take that fight at bantamweight, without a doubt. But Charlie's super flyweight. We'd have that fight at dropper and that. But we're not going to go chasing the fight. At the end of the day, that's up the management's to sort it out. And I've told Charlie, just forget about that now. If it happens, it happens. It's a bonus. Just don't go chasing it. It's in other people's hands. If the fight happens, the fight happens. But I think it would be a very good fight for British boxing.
I think a lot of fans would like to see that. I was there when they had a little bit of an altercation at the Matchroom show I think it was a couple of years ago. But let's talk about his brother, his younger brother, somebody who's done well for himself on the professional ranks, a little tidy fighter, slick. Obviously talking about Sonny Edwards. Only fought a couple of weeks ago on the BT show against Thomas Silva. You've had time to look at the fight again. What did you make of his performance on the night?
Good performance. Typical Sonny Edwards performance. Just box move. Everybody knows how Sonny is. Quality operator, good footwork. And I thought he boxed well. There were little things that I saw what other people probably didn't see, but I know him I have him day in, day out. So I know little things we've got to do and change. We've spoke about it and he agrees. But I thought he boxed well. All in all, he boxed very well. Because Thomas Som's a very good fighter. He can punch. And Sonny were wanting to hold his feet at times. And I'm like, you can't just fall for them traps, what Thomas were trying to set. So be aware of it. And he boxed well, yeah. And hopefully get some out in December early next year. And I think Sonny deserves a world title shot now.
How far did you believe he's away from that world title shot? I know there's always been in the last couple of fights this sort of push towards that world title shot. He is beating his opponents and he's beating them quite convincingly at times. But realistically, especially in the climate that we're in at the moment, how long do you reckon that could take?
As a boxing point of view for Sonny, I think he's ready now.
Okay.
So obviously with the COVID situation and everything like that, who knows? Nobody knows. But for Sonny now, I believe his next fight, have a world title fight, at flyweight. So obviously not a super flyweight. He's a national flyweight, Sonny. We all know that, but he's been competing at these different weights to get fights. But I believe, and his management team do, and promoters, he deserves a world title shot. So hopefully by Christmas, spoke to Sonny about it, something might come out for them.
Cool. Let's move on to Dalton. Fought a couple of fights up in the professional ranks now. What do you make of his career so far in these ranks? I know he's impressed quite a few people out there, but what do you make? Because you know yourself as a head coach, as a family member, can be a bit more critical than the normal person out there. But at the moment, what do you make of him as in the professional career?
I think he's took to it with flying colours. Just over a year as a professional, 6 fights. So Eddie's kept him busy, Matchroom kept him busy. He's got a good management team around him. We've planned his career out, how we think it's going to go, the opponents at the right time. And I think he's shown maturity, and his amateur pedigree's shone through, I think, as he's coming through. He's had his last 2 fights have been step-ups on paper, so nobody can say he's got padded and we've been avoiding people. We are moving at the right times. And like you say, ability-wise, he can probably compete ability-wise with the highest levels. But as a young fighter, he's learning to become get them championship rounds in 10 and 12 rounders. And you can't just jump into those fights like that. You might have the ability, but it's that experience once you've been in there. So you've just got to do it at the right time. And us as a team feel like we're doing it in the right direction. And his last fight, I think you could see, he's had all those fights coming in over that short period, so he never had a proper camp. It was just like in the gym constantly, train box. Whereas his last fight, he had a little bit of break, obviously with the COVID, and then he's come back and he had a proper 10-week camp. He knew his date. It was a bit further out, so he did it. He did his camp and he performed well. And hopefully every fight after that now, just make them little progressions and just get a little bit better every time and work on certain things, and he starts picking his rounds up and gets his rounds in. And I thought in his last performance, he showed very good maturity. How he was controlling the rounds, he went for a walk, he were trying to set little traps, he weren't just rushing his work all the time. And the kid, Nathan Bennett's a very good fighter. I hope he goes on and does good things, because he was a good amateur, he's a good fighter, he can punch, he's tall, he's fit. Big respect to Nathan Bennett. He took the fight when others weren't taking it at that level. And he took his risk, but obviously Dalton performed. And I think that showed in Dalton's performance.
I want your opinion as a trainer. We're living in a crazy time at the moment where fights are being put on cards, but it seems that now, first of all, they're probably in suffer fights because they can't be these easy fights no more being made. But is there also a pressure to make sure that your fighter entertains on the night? Because he's on TV, there's a possibility that if he does entertain, he might be able to come out on a show again, get a better following, etc., etc. Do you believe that there's a more of an added pressure for your fighter to maybe knock out or be more entertaining throughout this period?
Yeah, obviously the fight fans and the TV companies want those fights, but when the matchmakers are putting stuff together, if these fights on paper do look good, they are going to be good fights normally. And you don't send a strong-minded coach won't send his fighter out just to go and entertain the crowd. Yeah. He'll do what he thinks is the best way to win the fight for his fighter. And it's go out and win the fight at all costs, no matter what it takes. Whether you have a stinker or a barnstormer, you do what you feel your fighter's got to do in that fight to win that fight. And that win is the most important thing. And obviously if they can do it in style, and it depends. Some fans like it in the pocket and just a big mass brawl and toe-to-toe and at it. And some boxing fans, they appreciate the art of boxing, where they can see the skill and the flow of the boxers, and I'd rather see that. So I don't know, but for the cameras, yeah. But as long as the win's the win, they'll keep moving forward.
I want to talk about a fighter that seems to have left yourself and moved over to Ben Davison in Lee McGregor. What happened there in regards to you guys splitting ways?
Nothing really. That's. Boxers come, boxers go. Us coaches know that. Me and Lee McGregor are still friends. We've had no fallout. We still speak regularly. I was on the phone the other day to him, and I wish him all the best. I always look out for him, and I always will. And I've always said, if you ever need me, you know where I am. And he's moved to a good camp. He's got to do what he feels best for his career, and there's no hard feelings. Lee knows what I'm like. I'm not that type of guy. And I wish him all the best, genuinely. And he's gone to a good stable.
Did he actually, when you two spoke, did he actually tell you his reasoning for moving on or moving to another coach?
That's between me and Lee, obviously. Yeah, that's between me and Lee.
Cool. I want to talk about something away from your fighters. I want to talk about a big fight that's been announced. That's going to happen very soon. Vasyl Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez. Probably one of the fights that's dominating boxing news at the moment. Talk to me about that fight. How do you see that fight playing out?
Very good fight. There's some quite good matches getting made and a lot to look forward to if they all come off. Lomachenko, obviously, very good fighter. Lopez is as well. I think on paper, obviously, you've got to go with Lomachenko, but I think the fight will be won in the first 4 or 5 rounds, depending on tactics and how they deal with the situation and who's getting the best work. Lomachenko can adapt and change his tactics through fights very easily from 1 minute to the next. But I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. I think the first 4 or 5 rounds will decide who's going to win the fight on the pattern of the fight.
Interesting. Another fight that's been announced and got made was the rematch of Dillian Whyte versus Alexander Povetkin. Watching that first fight, Dillian was winning the first couple of rounds. He knocked down Povetkin a couple of times and then got landed with that massive uppercut. What do you feel like going to happen in this rematch?
I think Dylan's team and everybody's been very brave to take that and not go away and work on things. Okay. But big respect to Dillian. Personally, I think Dillian knocks Povetkin out in the next one.
Okay.
And I think he does a very good job of it as well.
That's interesting. Another fight that Eddie's put on, and he came, the news broke out yesterday, is Alexander Usyk, Derek Chisora. That fight was supposed to happen earlier on in the year. As per COVID, it got delayed. And then yesterday the news broke out, 31st of October, Sky Sports box office. The fight's been announced. How do you see that one playing out?
Another cracking fight, isn't it? These boxing fans are blessed, aren't they, with these times? Obviously Olivander was very, very talented fighter. Not the biggest heavyweight. Yeah. Obviously can grow into it, but he's not the biggest. And Derek is a big, serious man when you're in there. So, like you say, it depends how Derek's coming into the fight, how his training's gone, how his mindset is. And if he's really switched on for the fight, it could give him a good fight and ask things that other people haven't asked. And obviously, if Derek lands, he's a big lumper of man and he can punch. But obviously, we've got to fancy Usyk to come through with his boxing skills and stuff like that. You can't just stand with Derek and stuff like that. He's not going to fall for that trap. He thinks he's too clever. So I think obviously he wins the fight. But to start with, obviously, another cracking fight. Just
a card that's sort of going out in America this weekend is the two Chilo brothers fighting respectable opponents. First of all, Jamal Charlo fighting Sergei Derevyanchenko. Derevyanchenko's known for his fight against Golovkin, and even before that, he's fought Dan Jacobs and whoever else. That's a good fight as well. A great fight. What do you make of that one?
Tough fight. Derevyanchenko, I fancy.
Yeah.
I do fancy him to beat him. So, but the Chilo brothers are very talented. But let's see what they're like when they're at the top fighting the world-class fighters.
Yeah. And
see what it's like. But I don't think he'll win that one. No. I think Derevyanchenko might be mistaken, but yeah, we'll see.
Cool. Grant, it's been a pleasure. Let me in, talk to yourself in your room. Good luck on Saturday night. I know Charlie's got, he's on the road to a comeback at this new way, and he wants to fight for bigger glories in the future. So good luck to yourself, your fighters, and everything else going forward. And hopefully we'll speak to you very soon. Thank you very much. Grant Smith. Thank you.